you can't work when you're motivated, you work until you're motivated. So once you get that motivation by working, like, it's natural that you're just going to keep going with it.
I caught up with Vanessa Joy in Las Vegas at WPPI, and I followed her around for the day. That's not weird, right? That sounded a bit weird.
I'm Vanessa Joy. I'm a wedding photographer, portraits too. I'm a Canon Explorer of Light, and I work way too much. So at WPPI, I'm giving a platform talk. So I'm going to talk about posing to get actual emotions out of people instead of like tilt, turn, smile. And then I'll do a photo walk tomorrow, but mostly I'm kind of also launching 3 books that I wrote. So yeah, doing all that at once. Well, my mom was a photographer, so that meant I hated it. But like one day I felt like appeasing her, and I took a high school photography class, film, black and white, and I fell in love. And you could not drag me out of the darkroom. You know, I thought I couldn't. I thought it wasn't a real job because my only examples were my mother, who was really a stay-at-home mom, and my high school photography teacher did weddings on the weekends. So I worked for him for years, 5 years after high school. But in my mind, like, that was what you did on the weekends. You didn't actually do that. So I went to school to get a real job. I have 5 college degrees getting that real job. I ended up being a Spanish teacher for a little while. And I get so happy every September when I don't have to go back to school anymore. When I first started, let me give you a perspective. I had to fight with the guy that I was working for to get a website for his business. Like, it was a fight. He's like, I don't need it. I have a Yellow Pages ad. I had support in my immediate circles, but then when I started to go to shows and get more involved, then I got a lot of support, actually. I had someone tell me, Kenny Kim, I don't know if you know him, he's a fellow speaker, and he told me while I was working for this other guy, he's like, you know, you can do this for yourself, right? I'm like, no, I can't do this. I work for it. I'm a Spanish teacher. I guess I was wrong. Right now, I'm a wedding photographer half, and then an educator for the other half. If we're gonna look at it in like time spent, monetary, it's really split 50-50. One, you have to make sure that your camera is set to a shutter speed that's going to be okay for speed posing, because it can have all the image stabilization in the world, but you're gonna be moving way too fast. So I remember seeing Joe Busing speak, and I just loved his take on capturing emotion and, you know, learning to work your camera so that the camera thought process is secondary, and so you're involved in more of the emotion of what's going on. And then Dennis Reggie was another one that was influential. And I heard him speak a couple of times. I, of course, love his work, but he was the first one where I heard the term Explorer of Light, and I didn't know what that meant at that time. I just knew it was awesome, and I wanted to be one. So 20-year dream come true. All this stuff, all the speaking stuff, like it's great, don't get me wrong. But it seems easier than it is. Kind of like doing anything with YouTube. You put together a 3-minute YouTube video and it's like, oh great, you know, make me another one. And you're like, do you realize I just took like 2 weeks out of my life? It's the same thing with the speaking stuff or being sponsored. Like, there's so much legwork in the back, all of it. I mean, when you first start, it is 100% hustle. There's no way around it. You just have to work day and night. You have to disappoint people. You work on the weekends. And after a little while, then it's going to be time to start outsourcing things. And I think that's something a lot of photographers have problems with. Giving up control. It's okay. But one thing you can do, it alleviates stress, is just learning the difference between your level of perfection, like what you notice as a photographer, and what your clients see. Because your clients don't even know the difference between good and great photography. They're not going to notice the difference between like the 2% warmer you would have made that image if you were editing yourself versus your editors. They're not even going to see it. So what's the point, right? So learn to give up control. There's lots of places you can outsource now, tons. You know, the photography community, the arts community in general, is huge at this point. So if you're not getting the support you need in your immediate circle, just stretch your circle, because there are so many photographers, creators that are just willing to give you their time, give you their advice, their critiques, even though you might not want those, but they will absolutely help you be able to get the support you need. It just might not be in your immediate 10-mile radius. Well, the books, I just launched 3 at once. And why 3? Because who writes 3 books at a time? My goal was to take a lot of what I'd written for like magazines and articles, blogs in the past, and to compile them because it was all good information. And I didn't want these unique pieces that I wrote to just die on a blog that 300 people saw. And I actually started to write a business book for photography, and I got like halfway through and then didn't do it. So I had all that material too. So I'm like, let me get an editor. I'll compile this. Let's see what it is. It was 3 books. It was not 1 book. So now I've got 3 books. It's The Art of Wedding Photography, The Business of Wedding Photography, and then Building and Marketing Your Wedding Business, which is not for strictly photographers. It's for anyone in the marketing side of weddings.